Welcome to Triple Threat Podcast. I'm Mikhail Vatz, and as always, joining me is my co-host William Azell. Today, we will talk about what we're looking forward to this NBA season. We'll give you our award predictions for the upcoming season. We'll get into the NFL a little bit, and then we have a brand new segment which I'll get to a little bit later. But Will, you know what? It's the best time of the year, and you know why? Because the NBA is back. So the season has just started, and I want to know what you're looking forward to. There were some monster moves, monster headlines in this off season. So going into this year, what's most intriguing from your perspective?
So what I'm really looking forward to seeing this season is how this young Suns team develops. Are they going to continue to grow, or are they going to stall back this year, trying to get another good draft pick, or are they going to push this year with the team that they got? Because personally, I think that this is a really, really talented team that they got here. Devin Booker obviously went off on opening night, and I think Devin Booker could develop into a and potentially second team, third team All NBA player doing.
Mhm.
DeAndre Ayton looks like a fantastic rookie. They have Josh Jackson, McCall Bridges, Brandon Knight. They brought on Trevor Ariza, who had a great game. And these pieces are coming together. I'm really excited to see how the Suns team goes. Before I go over to you, another really interesting thing I'm looking forward to seeing is Kawhi and the Raptors. Because what they did last night against the Celtics was extremely impressive. I love what they're doing. To see Kyle Lowry without DeMar DeRozan, and he's still practicing his handshake without him. Kawhi is obviously a better shooter, a better defender, and just a better player than DeMar DeRozan. This team looks great. Danny Green's obviously in there long in that Kawhi trade. This team looks good. I can see this team taking the East this season. They could beat the Boston Celtics in six. They
Mhm.
could make it to the finals, but I don't see them winning it.
Mhm. Okay, so for me, I think it has to be the most intriguing story, at least early on in the season, is definitely LeBron to LA. Obviously, he's the best player in the league. We can both agree on that. Averaged 27.5 points per game last season in Cleveland. And the question is he going to continue to be that great monster player he is with this young Lakers core with Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, who will have a phenomenal season this year. So I'm really excited to see how LeBron does in LA. He makes his Staples Center debut tonight against Houston. So, I mean, it's just a big question mark for how LeBron is going to get along with this rookie team. Okay, so my second most intriguing has to be the rookie class. I mean, I get excited for the drafts almost every year. I love college basketball. I'm excited to see how these prospects do in the NBA. Class was phenomenal. At least it looks phenomenal. Trey Young, Luka Doncic, Kevin Knox, DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, just to name a few. Jaren Jackson's in there as well. I mean, Trey Young could be the next Steph Curry. Who knows? Luka Doncic has been a player overseas who we've been waiting to see. Kevin Knox is a phenomenal player, a great scorer. DeAndre Ayton is a complete monster, maybe a complete different story regarding big men. Marvin Bagley, tremendous talent out of Duke. So how all these guys do. And like you said, the Suns have a very, very young and an interesting comparison I like to make is they may look as good as the Warriors if the guys that they have develop into top tier players, meaning their ceiling. So for Aiden, it could be the best center of the league at some point in his career. McCall Bridges, it could be a top three small forward player in the league, and a lot of people compare Bridges to Kawhi Leonard. So if you look at this Suns team, very well like the Warriors, except the only difference is they drafted their players. They built around those players. They didn't just go and grab them in free agency.
Going
So
back
for
to your
mhm,
Going back to your Warriors comparison, I don't think that's a fair thing
uh-huh.
because they set the NBA wins record without anyone that they got in free agency. They drafted Clay, they drafted Curry, and they drafted Draymond, and that was the three players that got them to 73 wins. I don't think that's a fair comparison to say that they got their to talent from free agency. That was just Durant, and we haven't even seen how DeMarcus Cousins played this season. So I feel like it's a bit of an unfair comparison because of one
Okay,
player in no recent memory that has changed the outcome of their team.
that's completely fair, and I see where you're coming from. So to clear up my point of view, I'm saying that this Suns team could become not a 73 winning record team, but they could become a team, and I guess I wasn't clear about this. I see where you're coming from. A team that has an entire other dynasty. I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns go for 4 championships in a row once all these young players reach a high point in their career. I get where you're coming from, but this Suns team could be a scary team to look out for. Regarding your award predictions, Will, we have, let's see, we have 6 awards to go through. We'll start off with what may be the most intriguing award this season. It's going to be Rookie of the Year. Who do you have?
So obviously, the player with the highest floor right now is Luka Doncic, MVP of the second hardest league in basketball, better than college. It's the EuroLeague. Luka Doncic. Obviously, he's up there, but who I've been really impressed with the 2 games. And sure, it's a small sample size, but it doesn't matter because what he's done has been truly impressive. He's in top 20 in steals, top 20 in blocks, and that guy's name is Jarrett Jackson. He's been putting up crazy numbers. Him and Gasol have been putting up some great numbers. He has 17 points per game, 2 steals, 2 assists, uh, 4 defensive rebounds a game, and he's been shooting 60% from the field. And he's been keeping the ball, not turning the ball over, been playing 26 minutes a game. I think he's been looking really, really sharp. And what he's done, his skill set translates great to the NBA because what he does is he's a great rim protector. He can play power forward, he can play center, and his skill set's perfect for that. He's a great defender. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. He's lanky, he's tall. He times his steps perfectly to block the shots. He can cut off passing lanes. What he did in college was incredible in the
Mm-hmm.
defensive front, and he's been making some strides in his offensive game. He's been really, really working on making himself a better offensive player, and he has a 9'1" vertical leap. That's height from vertical standing position, and he's looked really good. He's showing flashes of being able to handle the ball, and he's been able to shoot the ball efficiently. He's been a 40% 3-point shooter. He can play defense and he can shoot. You need to be a great NBA player.
Okay, but can I ask you this? You mentioned how him and Marc Gasol have been playing well, putting up big numbers. Yes, it's only been 2 games, like you said, so you can't from those 2 games. But don't you think that playing under Marc Gasol, this would be a learning year for Jackson, not putting up the numbers that he may be putting up later in his career, and he might be under the shadow of Gasol a little bit.
I mean, he's still putting up 26 minutes a game. He's not. He's learning while playing, and I think
Mhm.
that's the most important thing you can do in a young career. And he's been putting up numbers. It's not that he's learning; he's putting up numbers and learning, and that's why I think he could and should take Rookie of the Year. If I give it to anyone so far this season, it'd be Jaren Jackson. I think he's going to continue to be able to uphold this really, really high standard of playing.
Okay, I like that Jaren Jackson pick, and I wanted the Hawks to go after him, and you know I'm a Hawks fan, so you know how I feel about Jaren Jackson as well. For me, it comes down to 3 players. It's Colin Sexton, and I will not be choosing him because he is coming off the bench, and I don't think you can choose a Rookie of the Year to at least start with his team. Therefore, I won't be going with Sexton, but later he will be. I think he's the best point guard in that draft. DeAndre Ayton is my second choice, and then Luka Doncic is my third player. And it comes between Ayton and Doncic. The reason I'm on the fence with this one is because Ayton plays with a lot of young players in Phoenix. You've got Josh Jackson, McCall Bridges, Devin Booker, um, uh, Eli Okubo, another draft pick there. And I just don't know if he can put up the numbers that he wants to and that he could be putting up in Phoenix. And then for Doncic, I feel like for him, it's gonna be difficult putting up numbers with Dennis Smith Jr. in the backcourt with him because they play similar style game. But all in all, I think I have to go with Luka Doncic. This may he may be the obvious choice. There's a good reasoning for it. All right, yeah. Jaren Jackson and Luka Doncic, both players that could very well win this award. Let's move on to most improved player. You can start us off.
So for me, I think it's going to be LeBron's replacement. He's had time to learn the EuroLeague. He came in last season, put up 4 points a game. It's Cedi Osman. Cedi Osman, I think he's a class player and under a superstar, and he takes you under his wing like LeBron did to Cedi. You grow as a player. Brett Favre mentored Rodgers,
Mhm.
and then Tom Brady sat. Everyone that sat under a great player has thrived in their career. And then already putting up 20 points a game off 50% shooting, and he's been shooting percent from three. He's been incredible. He's been putting up 6 assists, 2 steals, and he's been only 3 turnovers. He's keeping the ball pretty well, and he's been looking really sharp. He's filled in for LeBron and while doing that. And so I feel like although he's not LeBron and will never be half the player LeBron will be, he will be the league most improved player. And if he keeps 20 points a game, there's no question he wins this award. We saw what Oladipo did last season, how he won it, and he's been putting up Oladipo type numbers, and he's a great shooter. He can defend, and I think that he will get the recognition because he's on Cleveland and because he replaced LeBron James, and so he'll get the recognition he deserves. Player.
I don't know about this one because when you talk about most improved, you have to you have to choose someone that you've seen their ability, and you have to look at how what they did over the summer to improve. How did they do so, and how is it reflecting on the court? And for Chetty Osman, we barely saw him last year because LeBron was on the team, because that Cavaliers team looked so different. But for me, I just don't think you can take Chetty over guys like Taurean Prince, Brandon Ingram, Jamal Murray. Those guys we saw last season. They had good roles with the teams, and we can see this season what did they do to improve. And for me, I have to go with Jamal Murray simply because it's the Nuggets have told Jamal Murray that he's their next point guard. He is the next franchise point guard for the Nuggets. Why they traded Emmanuel Mudiay, who I really like, is because the Nuggets were so high on Jamal, and they said, "You know what? You you have earned the spot. You have earned the right to be the point guard going forward for the Denver Nuggets." And Murray has not only improved his shooting ability, which was what he was stood out for in college, but he has shown the ability to handle the ball, lead the court, feed the ball to players on the team like Jokic. And I think that Murray will continue to step up this season. And I just Jamal Murray doesn't win this award in my opinion.
But the thing is that he already has such a high platform that he had last season, and I don't think he's the best distributor of the ball, and I don't think he's giving the ball to the right players, and I think players can hurt his time on the court. Obviously, they bring in players like Isaiah Thomas, he was an MVP candidate 2 seasons ago. We can't forget that he does have the talent, and they also have players like Michael Porter Jr. who are going to be coming back off injury, and obviously Jokic, who's one of the best offensive big men in the league. And I don't think Jamal Murray's defensive ability or passing ability can separate himself from the competition.
What about Taurean Prince? Do you think he's another candidate for this award?
I think he's a candidate, but who I'd give it to is either between Chetty Osman or Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram could
Okay.
be developing into the star next to LeBron James, but I haven't really seen him put in the work. Like it comes down to between Brandon Ingram and Chetty Osman.
Okay. To the year, I'll start us off. For me, the three top coaches would be Brad Stevens, Greg Popovich, and Mike Budenholzer. And Hard Stevens has not won this award, so he could very Celtics team he has. Greg Popovich has won it 3 times, so that's why I eliminate him. And then Mike Budenholzer, I think he could win this award for the second time, obviously, when they had that 60-win season. But if he shows that he can coach this Milwaukee team into maybe even being a 3 seed in the East, he could very well win this award. But for me, I don't think Milwaukee will get the 3 seed in the East. I think it goes to Philadelphia or Boston or Toronto. It'll be a very tight race in the East. So Budenholzer's out, Popovich is out, and I think wins this award for the first time in his career. And he very well deserves it because he has been a candidate last year, the year before that. So Brad Stevens finally takes the award home this year, and he's very well deserving of Coach of the Year. For you, what do you think?
Just like you, I have three coaches I'm debating between. I have Alvin Gentry of the Pelicans, Steve Kerr of the Warriors, and Brad Stevens of the Celtics.
Please
Obviously,
don't choose Steve Kerr. Please don't choose Steve
I'm
Kerr.
not gonna choose Steve Kerr. But the thing is, Brad Stevens is the best coach, and Steve Kerr is the best team. The thing with Steve Kerr is he might get the single season win record here because he might be losing Clay this offseason, and they're gonna have this is their last shot to take the single season wins record. And if they do that, I see him winning Coach of the Year. But I don't think they will do that. I don't think they're gonna be trying that hard, trying to get the single season wins record because I think they can do that with the roster they have.
Yeah.
And they have a lasting impact. They're not going to get an impact by winning 3 in a row. You're going to get an impact by having the single season highest wins record. But Brad Stevens, what he does with the youth that he has, managing the roster, managing the egos, obviously I like what he's doing with resting Gordon Hayward for back-to-back games, not trying to risk that ankle injury that he picked up. And I like what he does. He's the most talented coach out there, and he's the best coach in the league right now. So I think Brad Stevens gets the award.
Okay, so we're both agreeing here on this one. I think it's very clear that Brad Stevens wins the award. For Defensive Player of the Year, this could come down to the wire. It could come down to the last couple games, and Anthony Davis, one of your guys, is a candidate for it. So, who do you have winning Defensive Player of the Year?
I don't have Anthony Davis. I don't have Drew Holiday. But I'll get to that later. You know who I have? I have a guard. And we don't see many guards, but this guard has the size of a big man and the ability of a guard. He's the speed and agility and the athleticism of a guard and all of the traits that a big man has. It's Ben Simmons. 2 guards in the league that are on top 15 on steals and rebounds so far this season and last season. That's Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler. And with the controversy surrounding Jimmy Butler, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain his ability, and he's going to not focus and go maybe even get traded. I have Ben Simmons winning it. Obviously, Embiid is teammate to contender for this, and I think it always goes to the center with most rebounds. But I think that's a unfair comparison. I think that it has to go to the player who's the most valuable defender. Look what he did to Kyrie Irving in the Boston Celtics. He shut him down. He's such a valuable defender, and there's a reason why he was Rookie of the Year. There's a reason why he's in the NBA without a shot. In the NBA as an all-star caliber player and Rookie of the Year that cannot shoot the ball. There's a reason why you're good. It's because he can pass. It's because he can dribble. And it's because he can play defense. Ben Simmons wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, I don't know if you can choose Simmons because Embiid is going to be making plays with him as well. So they'll split defensive plays, defensive highlights there. For me, it's either Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, or Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is just coming off that injury, so I don't know if I can choose him. And it's a brand new team in Toronto. But I'm not saying he won't be a tremendous defensive player like he has been in past years, but you just never know with a new team and coming off an injury that keeps you out for an entire season. Rudy Gobert won it last year, and I don't think he'll win it this year. So it has to go to Anthony Davis for me. And surprisingly, he hasn't won this award. 2.5 block, just under 2.5 blocks career per game. And then he's averaging just over 1 steal per game. And that's actually quite impressive to average over a steal per game for a big man. And then for Davis block wise, he's always the guy you see on Sports Center, always on whatever the herd, um, with those defensive highlights. So I think Anthony Davis takes it this year, and I think that this is the year for NBA awards that we give the awards to guys who have deserved it not only this year but in years past. So for Coach of the Year, it's Brad Stevens, like I said, and you said as well. And this year, it's Anthony Davis for Defensive Player of the Year. So do you have something to say about that?
Well, I was going to move on. The reason I don't have Anthony Davis as my defensive player of the year is because he is the best player in the league right now. He's not better than LeBron James, but with LeBron James being on a new team, having no supporting cast, he said he doesn't have another all-star caliber player on that team. Anthony Davis takes MVP. James Harden's not going to win back-to-back years, and LeBron James is going to win in his first year in LA. Has put up numbers to prove that he is the MVP this season.
Hold on. But where do you have the Pelicans ranked in the seedings?
I have them finishing as a three or 2 seed.
As a what?
Me and Skip
2?
Skip Bayless agrees with me. 3 seed.
3 seed or 2 seed? Okay, I'll tell you this: if Davis takes the Pelicans to a 3 or 2 seed, then he'll probably be the MVP. But I just don't see that happening. So I don't know how that will happen with only Anthony Davis on your team.
Let me
keep
walk
going.
you through it.
Okay.
Who are the other contenders in your opinion?
Giannis, I think he should have won last year. There's
Easily.
LeBron James, as always. Anthony Davis I have in there. But Giannis and LeBron I'd choose over Davis.
Is LeBron going to play defense on the team? He has shown an all-time low effort on defense.
But does James Harden play defense? No, and he won MVP last year.
Yeah, because he put insane numbers on offense too. Anthony Davis will do that too. He's already putting up 29 points a game. He's averaged 28 points per game last season and the season before that. And the season before that, he rebounds, he blocks, he plays defense, he passes. His passes are incredible for a big man. The thing is that he was a guard. He has the height to be a big man. So he is a guard in the big man's body, and that's what makes him such a special player. And the thing is, if you give it to the best player every year, LeBron James wins the award every year, but he doesn't. It's the most valuable player, not the best player. And the most valuable player is Anthony Davis. He does everything for the Pelicans. He is that good of a player. They're the fastest paced offense because he is such a quick big man per game. And that showed. They swept the Trailblazers, who were a 3 seed, and they were the only team besides the Rockets to put up a fight against Golden State. He was such an influential part of this team. And bringing in Julius Randle, who I think is the 6th man of the year because he led the in points per game and is coming off the bench because they have such great depth and power forward. This team does big things, and Anthony Davis wins MVP.
Oh, man, that is a big statement to make. And I'll tell you this: if Davis leads the Pelicans to a 2 or 3, most likely it'll be. I don't know if they can get the 2 seed. Then you can hand him MVP. But before I tell you my pick, let me tell you this: there's no way the Pelicans can go up to a 2 or 3 seed when you have the Warriors number 1. We can both agree on that.
100%.
Houston will probably get number 2. 3 seed.
Let me disagree on Houston real quick. They bring in Carmelo Anthony, which is everything the Rockets aren't. The Rockets finally played defense last season. Melo doesn't play defense. He's terrible at that. You know what? Okay, the Rockets are the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Yeah, Melo can't shoot threes. Melo has destroyed this team. I don't think that Melo although he's a great player and will put up 15 points a game, they're not a better team because of it. The Pelicans thrashed the Rockets on opening night. Trevor Ariza, we think about that. That's a big, big loss losing
It
Trevor
is.
Ariza. It's gonna be the thing that hurts them the most this season. I think what they get for Carmelo is the best value in the league, but he is going to hurt the team chemistry. And I think that the uh, Coach D'Antoni, is going to have to be forced to play him more than he should. And that's going to hurt this team. And he's going to be taking way too many shots, which gives less shots to Harden, less shots to Paul.
Hmm.
And it creates a destruction in the team. I have them as a 4 or 3 seed.
Okay. But you also have to consider teams like the Spurs and who else is there? The Jazz. There's also teams like the Nuggets, who a lot of people think will get the 3 seed. But we can talk about that at a different time. For me, it has to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he should have won it last year. He put up just under 27 points per game last year. Led the Bucks to the playoffs. They didn't make it past the first round, but they did put up a good fight against the Celtics. And I mean, Giannis, he's only going to get better. He is so young. He's averaging just over 25 this year, a couple of games, but I don't think I I see him averaging over at least 27. And LeBron averaged over at least 27 last year. We know LeBron's the clear MVP every season, but that's not the case, like you said. Giannis has to win this award, and especially if he leads the Bucks to a 3 seed in the East, people do think will happen. He wins this award. And if I think the way I think of it is for MVP, the player has to be on a team that is at least top 3 in their conference. So if Davis doesn't lead the Pelicans to a top 3 seed, and if Giannis doesn't lead the Bucks to a top 3 seed, do you still think it'll be Davis?
But what's better, a top 3 seed, a top 5 seed in the West, or a top 3 seed in the East? The West is that much better than the East.
But
And another point is I like Giannis. I think he's an MVP
Mhm.
contender. But who shoots better, Giannis or Davis?
Giannis is improving. He's
Who
improving.
plays defense better?
Davis.
Who passes better?
You could argue that Giannis
Could
makes better
argue, but
passes.
it's still Davis. And who
Mm,
sounds
I
better?
don't know. Davis. He's bigger though. He has the advantage.
But still, they are both around 6'11". They are similar positions, small forward and power forward, can be interchangeable. And I think that what Anthony Davis does would win MVP. I like Giannis. I think he's a good option. Two guys. I think a big man deserves it this year. Well,
Okay.
Giannis is technically a small forward, but I think he's still considered a big man because he's almost 7 feet tall. And he can't shoot. So obviously, I think it's either between those two. LeBron always has a good shot if the Lakers finish as the top 5 seed in the West.
Okay, so let's go to our final award, Sixth Man of the Year. I have Terry Rozier winning it this year, and the candidates for me were Dennis Schroeder, who'll back up Westbrook when he comes back. Lou Will's always a candidate, and then JJ Redick along with Terry Rozier. JJ Redick obviously averaged 17 points per game 2 seasons ago, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this guy needs to be a starter. This guy can put up big numbers. He can get you wins when you need them." But that's not what JJ Redick. That's not his type of basketball style. What he is, he's a guy that comes off the bench, can get you big buckets when you need them. Whether it's down to the wire early in the quarter, he gets you those buckets, and he's just not a legitimate starter in the league. He should be a six man, and this is a great place for him. But compared to Terry Rozier, I would give it to Redick if Rozier would. But Rozier is not a starting point guard, and this guy looks very much like Kyrie Irving. Very similar playing style, and what he did for the Celtics last year in the playoffs will continue this year. So I have to give it for Terry Rozier. Very impressive player for the Celtics.
And Terry Rozier is a starting caliber point guard. I think he could win this
Mhm.
award. And if they didn't have Kyrie Irving, he could be starting, and you could argue that he's been better than Kyrie Irving this season. And they can both play in the backcourt together, which we saw against the Sixers in the opening game. But I know this is biased opinion, but Randle is done. He led the Lakers in scoring last season, and the Pelicans have 3 top 15 power forwards in the league. So he comes off the bench. He averaged 2.5 assists last season from power forward. He rebounded the ball quite well. He averaged 16 points a game last season, and he looks better on this Pelicans team, which has a higher paced offense, has better passers, and is just I think has a better team. He's going to look better because of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is going to feed him. Elfrid Payton can pass the ball. Drew Holiday can pass the ball. Etwan Moore can pass the ball. Everyone in this Pelicans could pass the ball, and I think he is the beneficiary of all of this.
Hmm.
And he looks good this season. It's either between him, Rozier, and Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder is obviously a contender, but he only ever put up 21 points per game with um, Westbrook out. And when
Yeah,
Westbrook comes back in, his minutes going to go down. He did not look like that good of a shooter, and there's a reason why he was wanted out of the Hawks. But
agreed.
I don't think he can. I think he's the clear cut favorite for this award, but I don't think he's going to win it. It's either Rozier or Julius Randle for
All
me.
right, that's fair. So let's step away from the NBA. Let's go to the NFL. We are almost halfway through the NFL season, and yes, that is very hard to believe. And before we get into our surprises, let me just give you a nice shout out, Will. You were completely right about Patrick Mahomes being the real deal. I was very surprised to see him ball out the way he did. 18 touchdowns, 1,000, just over 1,800 yards passing, and has led the Chiefs to a 5-1 record so far. So, props to you, Will. You're right about that one.
Yeah, I love what Pat Mahomes can do, and obviously he's a great player. He could throw the ball, but he has thrown 2 turnovers in the past 2 games. But one of those was a last-second pass in the end of the first half to try to get something to work out, and he's not afraid of losing the stat sheet. He takes risks. He trusts his arm. He has a QBR of 118, which is the second highest in the league behind Drew Brees, who is the front runner for MVP. If you come in your second season, your first season starting with in an MVP candidate form, there's no reason why you shouldn't be one of the best players in the league. And I think he's really proven, and he has trust him. He's made adjustments at the line. We've seen Dak Prescott has been able to change the line. He has been able to read the defense. Pat Holmes already reading the defense, calling audibles, and David has full trust of him over the offense, and he's thrived in this formation. I love what Pat Holmes is doing. I love what he did in college. I love what he did last season in that game against Denver. I've loved what I see in practice, and I love what he's doing this season.
So, apart from Mahomes, what are your other surprises so far this season?
So Pat Mahomes is a surprise for me what he's done. I don't think that's
Uh
surprising. I don't think what the Bears is doing is surprising, and I
huh.
the thing that I find surprising is how it's just the entire Steelers running back and how well James Conner's done, how absent Le'Veon Bell has been, giving no contact to the team. He still hasn't come back for his bye week. He's left $7 million on the table, and no team wants him. All the Steelers are asking for is a second round pick and an okay average player.
Mm-hmm.
That for arguably the best running back in the league. There's something that we don't know that's going on. That's really intriguing for me. Why is no one snapped? Why is no one taking the chance on Le'Veon Bell? Why is a team that wants to make a playoff push not trying to get Le'Veon Bell? And I think there's something that we don't know that's going on. There's a reason why he didn't come back this week when people thought he was going to. James Conner has played, has been nothing short of fantastic. Not many running backs have had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in 3 games in their first 6 games starting. There's only 3 players that have done that, including Emmitt Smith. And what James Conner has done, they've proven that they don't need Le'Veon Bell. They're still 3-2-1. They have a good record. They beat the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
They're close to be taking top of the division. And they're fine without Le'Veon. They'll be like, hey, we don't need you. We got this young guy, James Conner. He is a great player that also happens to beat cancer. He is not a player that beat cancer. That's also great. He is a great player first. And what he's done this season, He's been a top 5 running back. He's top 5 in rushing. He already has 7 touchdowns, and he's been better than Le'Veon Bell was last in the first 7 games last season. He has more touchdowns and more yards. And I would take right now the ability you have on the field. It's what you have off of the field, and great person off the field that I would take contract, a better attitude, and similar numbers. I would take James Conner every day over Le'Veon Bell.
Wow. That's a bold
And
statement.
it's because it's not just your play on the field; it's who you are off the field. As you guys like I said with Carmelo, attitude can win a locker room, and that's why I think I'd rather have James Conner, someone who the team trusts, who he trusts the team, has been faithful to the team, been through it all, knows the highs and the lows, and he is a great player as well. And so I think that's why he's been a big surprise. And
Uh
something that happened this week is another surprise.
huh.
Carlos Hyde shipped off to the Jaguars for a 5th-round pick. And I found that so surprising because Carlos Hyde has looked good this season. He has had great numbers. He's had over 300 yards rushing. He's had 5 touchdowns. He's had good yards per carry, 3.5. He's been a great part of this offense. He's been a good part of the passing game. And they must really trust Johnson and Carlos Hyde. And Nick Chubb.
Mhm.
Highest touches per game is 8
Yeah.
combined. Nick Chubb has not had more than 3 carries per game. They have not given the ball 3 times out of the backfield. They have not given Duke Johnson more than 5 carries a game. They're averaging around 6 carries a game. And they traded away a guy that they were giving at least, they gave him 114 rush attempts. And they're going to give a guy that they give
Well, I
around
mean,
6 a game to 40 carries versus a guy that gave him 120. That's so interesting to me. Why did they trade away their leading rusher, their leading scorer, and the most valuable part of this offense for a 5th-round pick to the
yes.
Jaguars?
Yeah. But for the Jaguars, it's great. Obviously, you don't know when Fournette's coming back. TJ Yeldon has played it pretty well, filling in the role of Leonard Fournette. But obviously, he is no Fournette. And you got a guy
And he's
like
injured.
Carlos Hyde. Yeah. Um, Carlos Hyde though, great career with the 49ers. Then comes to Cleveland and has had a great season so far. He's looked exceptionally well, all that the Browns wanted. And he's been balling out in practice too. And then to trade him for a 5th-round pick is very surprising. Browns are just shipping off players and getting picks. And for us as fans and guys who follow the game, we look at these picks and think, you're not going to find this type of player in the 5th round. You're not going to find a Josh Gordon. What did they get for Josh Gordon? Do you
5th-round
remember?
pick.
Yeah, you're not going to find a Gordon in the 5th round. You're not going to find a Carlos Hyde in the 5th round. So it's just interesting to see what the Browns are doing with all those trades. So for me, my biggest surprise is, like I said, Mahomes. We talked a little bit about that. The Bengals. I'll keep it short and sweet for you. 4-2 right now. I had them originally going 3-13 at the end of the season. They have surprised me. Andy Dalton has looked great. 14 touchdowns this season. AJ Green is also having another great year. 5 touchdowns and just under 500 yards. The connection between Dalton and Green has looked it's never been better. This may be the year that AJ Green and Andy Dalton become another QB wide receiver threat, top 5 QB wide receiver threat in the league. So Bengals and a surprise for me. And
Well,
how
don't
about
forget
the
Tyler Boyd.
Falcons?
Tyler Boyd has looked better than AJ Green, debatably. He's been putting up
And
amazing numbers, more
and
touchdowns. He's been
exactly,
phenomenal this season.
and that's also because so many in the first couple of weeks, AJ Green looked great. Tyler Boyd wasn't there, and that's why a couple of teams started to put more pressure on Green, and that opened the door for Tyler Boyd, who has looked great, like you said. And AJ Green is still finding a way to put up big numbers with splitting with Tyler Boyd, splitting catches, splitting touchdowns, and he's still finding a way to put up numbers. But another surprising story: the Falcons look terrible, and you know I'm a big Falcons fan. I did not expect them to be this bad. I don't think you expect either, but you have to remember the injuries that they went through. Tag McKinley he's back down. Deion Jones is out for the season. Ricardo Allen's out for the season. Keanu Neal's out for the season. Devontae Freeman is listed to come back as early as week 15. The injuries just pile up for the Falcons. And it's just so surprising to see how bad they're doing, honestly. And Baker Mayfield, another surprise for me. He's looked good. And you said that Baker may be the guy. You really know your stuff on these QBs.
I mean, Baker Mayfield has nothing. He's been an okay quarterback and 90 passer rating. He's been nothing special, but for a rookie, he's had a pretty good season so far. They put him in early that they did the season because of the pressure that they put on him. There's nothing wrong with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor looked great going into the season and doing good in his first two games and kept them in those first two games. And they had no film on Baker Mayfield. He comes in, he's played pretty well. He did have those costly turnovers against the Raiders, costing them a win. He's only a 1-2 record as a starter, but he's looked good. He has the same amount of wins as a starter in the past 2 years. So he's been pretty good for them. I don't see him being elite as a player. I see him being his ceiling, I'd say, is around a Andy Dalton. I think he's an Andy Dalton type caliber player. He's good enough to be a starting caliber player, and he could make it to a Pro Bowl any season. He could shock people some seasons, and the fans love him. They got the nickname Red Rocket. Baker Mayfield's always a fan favorite. He's top 10 jersey selling in the league. He brings so much intensity to that team. He's got a lot of character, and he's been playing pretty well on the field. So that's been a.
So you're changing your perspective a little bit on Baker.
No, I've always said he's going to be he's a B plus max quarterback. He's never going to be an A, but he's going to be around a B. And take him over Cam Newton, I don't think Cam Newton's the best player. I think he could be on that Cam Newton level as a thrower because he's got the arm, percent drop rate, which is concerning because he throws the ball with a lot of heat, and I don't think a lot of receivers can deal with that.
Okay, so let's move on to a brand new segment in the show. Like I said, we'll get to it later, and here we are. It's called Higher or Lower, and what we will be doing is I'll be telling you a player and their stats, or a team and a prediction, and you say whether that prediction or stat will be higher or lower. So let's start off with LeBron James. 25 points per game by the end of the season with the Lakers, higher or lower?
LeBron James has never averaged less than 25 points per game since his rookie year. And he's going to have the ball more often this season. He's playing with a young core of players. He's going to have the ball. He doesn't have a star to take the ball like Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh or Kevin Love or Kyrie Irving. He's the primary ball handler on this team. Him and Rajon Rondo are the two leaders on this team. He's the only player that he's the best shot on this team. And that's saying a lot because LeBron James isn't the greatest shooter, but he on this Lakers team. This Lakers team cannot shoot the ball. They have the most points in the paint. No team put up more points in the paint than the Lakers did last week. Because the Pelicans put up the most points in the paint last season at 68 in one game. They put up 71 in opening night. They can't shoot the ball. All their points come within the paint. And if you stop that, you stop the Lakers. But LeBron James has the ball more. He's the best player in the league. He's arguably the best player of all time. He's not going to average less than 25 points per game. His turnovers will certainly go up. I think his turnovers could be around a game. I think he could reach 5 turnovers a game because he has the ball so much. But that means he scores more points. He's averaging 28, 29, maybe 30 if he gets MVP.
All right, so next is Patrick Mahomes. It's listed as it's listed. I'm supposed to ask you whether he'll have more touchdowns than 35 or less, but I want to change that just to 40. So will he have more than 40 touchdowns or less than 40 touchdowns by the end of the season, of course?
Yeah, Shayna, 40 is an incredible season. That's what I call elite.
Yeah.
He's on pace right now to throw 48 touchdowns this season.
Mhm.
So if statistically, I would say yes, but I don't know if teams are going to start figuring Pat Mahomes out. Obviously, you can't stop the arm, but they're going to start figuring out what his tendencies are, and he's going to slow down.
Okay.
48 touchdowns a season. We have to throw 3 touchdowns a game. The Chiefs' offense are capable of doing that, but when do defenses start figuring them out? They have a pretty easy schedule towards the end of the season. I can see him finishing with it, but I'm beginning to feel like we're going to see a little bit of a tail off, but still seeing an incredible MVP candidate this season. I say he's around 39, but I'm going to say yes, he is going to finish with over 40 touchdowns.
Okay. Next is the Utah Jazz. Will they be higher than a 4 seed, meaning 1, 2, or 3, or lower than a 4 seed?
With the Jazz, I think they could. Their highest position for me is third. Their lowest, I think, is seventh. I think they have a lot of fluctuation they can do. They looked great against Golden State. Last second buzzer beater to lose the game. But they have a good team. Grayson Allen is going to be a good rookie. They didn't strengthen the offseason. They're going to get Exum back. He wasn't there with injury. Rudy Gobert, and they look a lot better with him. Obviously, defensive player of the year. They have a good team with good players off the bench like Derek Favors. I see them. I like teams better than them. I love the Jazz and what they can do, but I like the teams better than them. I like Golden State better than them. I
Mhm.
like the Rockets better than them.
Mhm.
I like the Pelicans better than them. I
Mhm.
like the Nuggets better than them. I think
Mhm.
they're a better defense than the Nuggets, but the Nuggets are the best offense in the league. And if Brandon Ingram develops into a star, I like the Lakers better than them.
Okay.
So I can see them finishing as low as a 7th seed. They will make the playoffs. They can finish as high as 3, but as low as 7. I do not have them as a top 4 seed in the West.
Okay. And how about that game yesterday against Golden State, like you said? This just goes to show how great of a team Golden State really is. Utah put up 81 points in the first half, made 11 threes in the first half, and then they lose. It was arguably the best game for the franchise, and the Golden State Warriors beat them. Last but not least, I know you'll be interested to talk about this one. The New Orleans Saints, 5 scrimmage yards, just between Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
Well, the thing is that the way to beat the Ravens is by passing. And the Saints, since they've gone Kamara, have been a primary running team. Their first option is run. Drew Brees can still pass the ball exceptionally well, has the most deep passing yards in the last 5 years. Through the air, not just passing it, they run 5 yards, where people think that the Saints are. They just get their yards off screens. No, he throws the ball in the air. But if you look at this, the Ravens defense only works against young quarterbacks. They don't know what to do against exotic blitzes. But Drew Brees knows exactly what to do against the league for almost 20 years. If you look at the Ravens defense, they've had 26 sacks so far this season. Almost all of them have come against young quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
They played 3 quote unquote old quarterbacks: Andy Dalton, Ben Roethlisberger, and Case Keenum.
Yeah.
That's 4 sacks. They only had 4 sacks in that game. They sacked Mariota, Mayfield, Josh Allen, and Nathan Peterman a combined 22 times. 22
Mm-hmm.
compared to 4.
Wow.
And Case Keenum isn't a good quarterback. Andy Dalton and Ben Roethlisberger, they sacked 1 time. Against Drew Brees can pick apart their defense. They're not the best pass coverage, and that's why Drew Brees blows up this game. He breaks 500 touchdowns. He strengthens his lead as the all-time leading passer in the league, and that slows down the offense. Rushing yards, that's why they have less than 175, even though Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara average around 200 yards a game so far this season. Mark Ingram, they're going to look to pound the ball. They're going to cut you with 1,000 cuts, but they're going to pass the ball a game, and so they get less than 175 yards all scrimmage.
Alrighty. What'd you think about that segment, Will? You like it?
I think that was a good segment. I got good facts in there, and I think the audience should like that. But
Yeah.
I feel like on the last segment, we have locks and upsets. So, Mikhail, do you have any upsets that you like this weekend?
Okay, so me and you before we got onto the show, we were looking at the matchups this week, and they could very well be games that could end up one way an upset, or it could be, well, let's just leave it here. All of these games could none of them are really upsets or locks because the teams are you have the Bills, the Colts, the Patriots, the Bears, you've got the Texans and the Jaguars, Saints, Ravens. So it's really difficult this week. It's just so difficult. So for locks, I'm gonna have to go with. Whew, this is tough. I'm gonna have to go with just on the spot. I'll go with the Rams over the 49ers. That's a clear win. I'm sure you'll have that one in. And then secondly, I would say Denver, but that game's over now. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins over the Lions for my lock. And I know that could be an upset for Detroit over Miami, but I'm gonna go with a lock for the Dolphins. What about you?
My two locks, I'm gonna have to agree with you on the Rams. The Rams, they have not had to travel further than Denver so far this season. That's their furthest that they've had to travel. They're in California this week. They're playing the Chargers, which the Niners, which don't have a QB, which don't have a starting running back, and their backup running back is injured. He
Mhm.
was doubtful to play against the Packers. He still played, had a good game. Kyle Shanahan's an offensive guru, should call a great game, but the Rams are too good for this. They are going to cruise this game. The other LA team, their two losses come against the Rams and the Chiefs, the two best offenses in the league. Without
Yeah.
Joey Bosa, they have a four safety look on defense. Why would you not play strong safety instead of a middle linebacker if they're going to play coverage? Safety or a linebacker, a safety. They play great defense. They play even better offense. Philip Rivers is still playing great. They have Keenan Allen, Terrell Williams, and Antonio Gates on the team. The offensive line is great. They're taking on the Titans, who just came off a smacking off the Ravens, 21-0 with 11 sacks. I think Melvin Ingram is going to tear this offensive line apart. They have a lot of good pieces. Pair them up. My two locks are the both LA teams.
All right. So really quickly before we go, upsets. I have to go with this one. You ready? Cleveland over Tampa. Both teams that have similar records. The Browns are 2-3-1, and the Bucks are 2-3. And secondly, I'm gonna go with this over the Vikings. The Jets actually have quite an impressive defense. Tremaine Johnson, Leonard Williams, Marcus May, safety, but he'll be out a couple weeks. Jamal Adams is there as well. I think the Jets could very well be a surprising team in the NFL later in the season. They'll upset the Vikings, but don't be surprised if Minnesota takes a win either. So my two upsets, Browns and
And just first things first, I really like what you have on the Jets. The Jets are 2-0 in their last two games. They have a two-game
Mhm.
winning streak. They won both of those games at East Rutherford. They look good at home. This game's at home. The Vikings have a great offense, but the offensive line is lacking. This Jets defense is a real defense. And guess what? The Vikings are going to underestimate their opponent. They underestimated the Bills, and the Bills lost. And that's why I think that this is going to be kind of a hard game for the Jets. The Colts. The Colts have
yeah.
looked good this season. The Colts should easily win this game. It's a 7-point line. How are the Bills favored this game? It's Nathan Peterman. That's all I need to say this game. It's Nathan Peterman starting. This statistical category in the NFL, the Bills are last. Third down, finish the first seed. Third down on defense. Anything the Bills are last on. The Bills are terrible this season.
Whew.
My other upset is going to be The Saints. How were the Saints underdogs against the Ravens? They have a perfect counter. They can pass. They could run. It's an experienced team with the most creative the last decade in Sean Payton. They should torch this Ravens defense. It's going to be a great game. If the Ravens win, they have a statement game. They say, "Oh, look, we are the team in the AFC to be beaten." Breeze says, "I am the MVP this season. I am the greatest of all time. I'm going to win the Super Bowl this year. Whoever wins this game, I think goes to the Super Bowl." That's my bold prediction for this game.
All right. Saints and Ravens will definitely be an interesting game, but that'll do it for us here at Triple Threat. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.